Okay, just to continue, in this intro paragraph, this author also, not only does she have a good thesis statement, she also goes on to clearly identify the key points of her argument. This is often referred to as signposting, and this is where you are sort of leading your reader into your argument and the main points that you're going to use to prove your thesis statement. So she identifies, first one, the fact that Othello is an extremely insecure character. So I imagine this will be the first paragraph, first body paragraph to follow the introduction, where she'll talk about how Othello is a very insecure character, and she'll go on to prove that point. And then her second body paragraph will be about trusting Iago, and then the third one will be about following the path of a tragic hero. So she has three main body paragraphs and three main points clearly stated in her introductory paragraph. So while this is a sort of basic, bare bones intro, I do think this is a good model to sort of base first year paper on this kind of structure. So here's a good example that you can use to sort of construct your own introductory paragraph for your writing assignments. So when we are talking about essays, you do need to use quotations when writing your papers. So there's some rules that you can go use when integrating quotations. So you're not just dropping your quotes or dumping your quotes in a paragraph, you are sort of setting them up and explaining them. Sometimes it's beneficial to use sort of shorter quotations and then integrate them right into your sentence structure. So there's flow between what you say and then how you're introducing the quote. And this idea of integrating your quotations within the grammar of your sentence is very important, and we'll talk about strategies that you can do to integrate your quotations. And then make sure you are copying them word for word and giving credits, of course, to the author of the original quotation. And this is one of the things I have to stress is not to plagiarize, right? You're not just reading something off the internet, cutting and pasting it and putting into your essay. That is plagiarism, and you can get in a lot of trouble if you do that. You have to put, if you're taking direct quotation from somewhere else, you have to put it in quotation marks and then use a parenthetical citation at the end of the sentence in the paragraph that you put it in, citing where the author of that quote. So this is an important part of, again, being an academic and writing at an academic level, is to give credit to all your sources and using textual evidence in your papers. So let's look at some examples of how to do this. So this is what you do not want to do. This is called dropped or dumped quotations, and it makes your writing really choppy and disrupts the flow of your argument. So these are bad examples. So the first example, Rochester introduces himself in a fever-ridden state at the beginning of the second section. And then this author has just put a period and then the quotation from the book. So this would be a dropped or dumped quotation, and there's no integration, so the quote cannot stand on its own. A quotation is not a complete sentence, it's a part of a sentence. It's a fragment, so you do have to treat it as if it was a fragment and properly integrate it into the sentence using the right kind of punctuation. So here's another example of a dropped quotation. Everything that is part of society is influenced by politics, period. In our age, there's no such thing as keeping out of politics. So this is another example of a dumped or dropped quotation where the author is not properly punctuating or integrating the quotation. So one way to integrate a quotation is to use a colon. So dot dot, never a semicolon. So our example is from The Wars. So Robert Ross in Timothy Finley's The Wars is often unsure of how to interpret his wounded companion's words. Colon. Harris said the strangest things lying on his pillow staring at the ceiling. So this author has used a colon to introduce the quotation, and their lead up is a complete sentence. So you would use a colon when you have a complete sentence that's your own writing, and then you want to illustrate the point using a piece of a quotation from the text. So our complete sentence: Robert Ross in Timothy Finley's The Wars is often unsure of how to interpret his wounded companion's words, colon, and then your quotation. So if you can use a comma, but that's only if you have a phrase to begin. So rather than a complete sentence, you just sort of have a part of a sentence. And then depending on your sentence, you can either add a comma or just have the quotation sort of blend right in with your sentence. But one rule, so never use a semicolon to introduce your quotation. So that's one of the things you can be aware of. So according to Robert, comma, Harris said the strangest things lying on his pillow staring at the ceiling. So this is another way to integrate a quotation into the grammar of your sentence. Just some tips. So if you're quoting from an author, you can use, you only have to use their last name following the first reference. So in your citation, you just need the last name and then the page number for MLA style. And then after that, if it's just the same text you're using throughout, you can just use the page number. So that's fine. Writing the name, the last name, is just a way to illustrate whether or not you're switching between authors or using multiple sources in your text. If it's one text that you're using throughout and you're not using other secondary materials, then page numbers are very much okay, and you can just add the page number rather than all that other extra information. You'll notice that end punctuation changes when you add a quotation. So you are the one adding the final punctuation, and you're going to remove the punctuation from out of your quotation. So you'll notice that there's no period inside the quotation marks. That period has been removed, and then you add your own outside of the citation in brackets. And this is only, there's the exception is if there is a question mark in the quotation itself, or another piece of punctuation like an exclamation mark. But most of the times you will just have a period outside of your paragraph, or outside of your quotation, the parenthetical citation. So that's something you can use in your essays. If you're citing from web sources, use an author's name if available. If not, use an abbreviation of the title of the article or of the website itself. So salon.com is the website. Usually you would find a specific article within that, so you could use the article title before you use just the website name. And then the best one is, again, to have an actual author of the information that you're using. So for credible sources, usually there's an author. Sometimes if it's a government document or something like that, then there's no one author. So you would just cite the abbreviation of the article's name or the website itself. You do not include the whole URL. I don't want www.salon.com, blah, 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 blah. // No, you don't need any of that. You just need sort of the brief information that would help the reader find that exact piece of writing if they needed to. So just an abbreviation so it doesn't disrupt your writing either. So you don't want your paragraph to be full of web addresses, right? Because that's very distracting to the reader. So in English, we always use MLA style, which is just the author's last name and then the page number. In APA, they also include the year of publication, but that's not necessary for this class. For your other classes, though, you can again, make note of that. But regardless of any piece of writing that you're going to hand in, you should always have a works cited or reference page at the end of your paper, and this is going to be the list of all the sources that you use to write your paper. And any sort of quotation that you use, it should be reflected in the sources on your works cited page. And you should list them all in alphabetical order by last name, and then include the information that is available to you based on your selection. So the year of publication, title of the article, title of the book name, if it's an anthology publication, place of publication, name of the publishers, and page numbers, volume number if it's a journal. So all that information you can find online if you Google MLA citation for short story, or in your grammar handbook. You should also have or make note of the MLA chapter in your grammar textbook and use it as a reference while you're writing. So always include a works cited page. You will be docked marks if you do not include one in your papers.